Welcome back to the Old Barn on Ann Street on this beautiful spring day here in Shelburne, Nova Scotia. Today is our 60th and final episode of the Old Barn on Ann Street. I have so enjoyed this process. To tell you the truth, when we started, I didn't really know anything about YouTube and putting up these kind of videos or showing this kind of work. I didn't know how to make it work or what people would be interested in seeing. And so I really had no idea what to do. But I'm so glad that for many of you who've stuck with us and followed along, and it's been such a pleasure. This project has been something we thoroughly have enjoyed and love being a part of this community and working in this barn. And it's just an amazing thing. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing the process and the transformation of the barn. So last week, if you saw last week's episode, we kind of explored the loft and where it began and all the work we did there and what we're going to do there in the future, what our plans are at least. And so we want to kind of do the same thing today for the loft and the barn in general. And so why don't we start by going back to almost 2 years ago when we walked into the barn for the first time and see what it looked like then. It's hard to believe, remembering what the barn looked like when we first walked in and what it was like then. And we've done a lot of work since then. And so much has been done since then. So maybe we'll take a few moments and show you just a couple clips here and there of just some of the work we've done over these last almost 2 years. So take a look. Here we go. So how did it all turn out? That's a good question. It was a lot of work. And so here's a walkthrough we did not too long ago. I think it was just before our Christmas market when the barn was all cleaned out, and you can see what it all looks like and how most of the work that was done by then turned out. And so I hope you like the end result, the after of our before. And so here's what it looks like. So we're not done yet. I wanted to just, I hope you liked how that turned out, by the way, but I wanted to just kind of show you a day in the life of what the barn is now and how we use it now. And today is a Saturday in the spring and what a typical day looks like. So let's step inside and see what's going on, okay? it is, a typical Saturday afternoon, typical day in the life of the Old Barn on Ann Street, the Pottery Studio, Dirt to Dishes Pottery Studio. Janet's in there most every day. I mean, that brings us to the end of this final episode, and I got to tell you, I've absolutely loved every minute of all the work we've done in this barn. I've loved sharing it with you, but most of all, we just love being a part of this beautiful community of Shelburne, Nova Scotia, having such a beautiful venue and having the privilege, really, of all the things that we can do in this barn. So the only thing left to do now is for you to come by and see us. We'd love for you to stop by sometime. I'm glad that you've journeyed with us. And so if you stop by sometime, we'd love to give you a tour of the Old Barn on Ann Street.